Hi friends, welcome along to Runners Only with Dom Harvey, episode 14. Today on the show, Calkoen. He's a Paralympic sprinter, he's a motivational speaker, he's a mountain climber, and he's done it all with cerebral palsy.
Don't just have one dream, have 100 dreams. We have so much more potential in us to achieve so much more than we currently know.
Can you do me a favour? Wherever you get your podcast from, could you follow or subscribe? Hit the follow button or the subscribe button. I don't know what it does, but I've heard people say that on other podcasts, so it must do something. So that'd be much appreciated if you do that. Massive, massive thanks to the sponsors of this week's podcast, Lifestream, New Zealand's leading and most trusted brand of Spirulina. Lifestream have been doing this in New Zealand for over 40 years. In fact, they were the first people to bring Spirulina to New Zealand back in 1980, so they know what they're doing. Their pills are easy to absorb and digest, fitting in perfectly with the active Kiwi lifestyle. When I got talking with Lifestream about a month ago about getting on the podcast, they gave me some of their Spirulina, and I've been popping 6 pills a day ever since. It's great. They source only premium quality Spirulina that's been grown far away from pollution and pure mineral-rich water, so you know that what you're putting in your body are quality ingredients. Crucial if you're starting out with running or you already have a rigorous training program. It naturally contains at least 60% protein. That's a hell of a lot. It's also super rich in nutrients and antioxidants. That's why it's called a superfood. That's a great support to supercharge energy. And today I'm offering you guys a special 15% discount off all Lifestream Spirulina products. Simply head to lifestream.co.nz and use the code DOM15 when you check out. That's lifestream.co.nz, and the code again for 15% discount, DOM15. All right, let's get the show on the road.
Hey, runners only, yeah, let's get it started. Hey, this is runners only with Dom Harvey. Fast paced, slow and steady, anywhere you coming. Just wanna connect for everyone who loves running. This is runners only, yeah, let's get it started. Hey, this is runners only with Dom Harvey. Fast paced, slow and steady, anywhere you coming. Just wanna connect for everyone who loves running. Hey, runners only with Dom Harvey.
Runners Only with Dom Harvey and Calkoen. G'day, mate. Get in nice and close.
Awesome. Great to be here.
Nice and close to that microphone.
Nice.
This is Calkoen. He's won gold medals for the 100 metres and 200 metres.
Yeah, throughout New Zealand, Australia, all over the world, man. So,
Yeah.
I feel like a bit of a fake being here today because I'm looking at all the other people you've interviewed, and they're all current runners, and they love it, and they're into it, and I actually didn't love running. But if it
Get out!
I'm sorry, but this is why.
Yeah.
This is what I love about it. If it wasn't for running, I wouldn't be here today.
How do you mean you wouldn't be here today?
I wouldn't be as strong as I am. I wouldn't be as strong mentally, physically, socially, and I may have even, life as a teenager got pretty hard, and I needed an escape, and running became that escape. Gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
Mate, I've got goosebumps hearing you say that. But how can you say you don't like running when you know, on the flip side, it's given you so much good shit?
Yeah. So I guess it's... I don't like why I said I don't like it is because there's so many people who could benefit from it, but they aren't going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's raining and put on their shoes. That's the bit you don't like. But what you love is when you train and you get stronger and fitter, and all of a sudden, so I was a sprinter and you're flying, and that's what I love.
Yeah,
I just wanted to give you a little sound bite.
That's the bit for Instagram.
Yeah.
That's the bit for TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, there's so much to discuss with you. Born with cerebral palsy, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, becoming one of the most in-demand public speakers in New Zealand, and there's so much that we're going to get to in the next hour.
I know. I'm excited, but
mate,
I'm like, man, it's going to go so fast.
It's just such a pleasure to have you here. It really is. Some friends of mine, Nick and Jackie, they're like, we've heard this guy speak. You've got to get him on your podcast.
Cool.
He's inspo.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Jackie.
So I may ask some dumb questions about cerebral palsy.
Go for it.
You've got to excuse me because I know very little about it, but I really want to learn.
That's how we create awareness.
Okay.
And I think the biggest fear for people is that they don't ask questions and they make assumptions. And when they make assumptions, we make an ass out of you and I. Right? Like,
We literally do.
And when we tell a story, this is why this is so powerful. Because when we hear someone's story, we eliminate that assumption and then we bend perception. So go for it.
Yeah, okay. So you're born with cerebral palsy. What does it mean exactly, and how does it happen?
So it happened at birth. So as a baby in my mum's tummy, all was G, and then something went wrong during birth, and I lost a bit of oxygen to the brain. So it is a brain injury, but my thinking and my articulation is fine. But what it affects is the way in which messages travel around my body. So my voice, as you can hear, is a little bit shaky. My limbs are a little bit shaky. But what you see is what you get.
Right. So in your brain, everything's perfectly normal. Everything's functioning perfectly well. But just something in between that brain messaging to what comes out, something gets lost.
It's better than normal, man. It's awesome. Like, seriously.
Well, it's your superpower.
If I could take this away, like, it's the most fascinating thing to live with, because right now I'm shaking, but this isn't part of a cerebral palsy. Well, it is, but I often wonder this: if people never told me I had cerebral palsy, how would I be? You know, and it's that thing of when you're on your mountain bike and you look at the root of a tree, you're going to hit the root of a tree. You know,
because it's what you're focusing on.
It's what you're focusing on. So I'm aware someone's meeting me for the first time, and I'm trying to control myself. But I feel myself in way more shaky here than normal. But as this conversation goes on, I'll relax, I'll warm up, and that's the thing, my cerebral palsy can't get worse. And running, which is what I do love about running, made me stronger.
So was it with the cerebral palsy, was it difficult for you to run because of your motor skills or anything, or your balance? Or
Yep. That's what's made the 100 metres hugely exciting, because I may not have got to the end of the 100 metres.
Oh, no, come on.
Seriously.
Really?
Seriously, the amount of times where I'm sure the whole audience would be holding their breath. I had some pretty gnarly falls. And this is what was fascinating. There would be people arriving at the race, walking up on crutches and running the 100 metres in 12-something. Because what you have got is you've got fast-twitching fibres.
Yeah, right.
The shagginess just wants to boom, just wants to explode. But you've got to then connect all the dots of the foot goes, the arm goes, keeping your balance, and that's why I loved it, because you'd finish that race, and you've not just physically gone hard, you've mentally had to.
Yeah. So with cerebral palsy, does it take more physical exertion for you to walk and for you to run and for do things like that than someone that doesn't have cerebral palsy?
I don't know, because I've never not had it.
Yeah.
You know?
Sorry, I said there was going to be dumb questions.
No, but it's not a dumb question, because I actually don't know. Like, I actually wake up and I'm like, do I actually have? Because I'm just camp, right? And that's what running was so good for, because all my training mates just saw Cam. And then eventually all the kids at school saw Cam the athlete. And that's who I always wanted to be. I never wanted to be defined by what I can't do. I wanted to find what I can do and be with the best in the world.
Man, that's such a good attitude. So, okay, so you're born, you've got cerebral palsy. When is there a moment where you first realise that you're different to some of the other kids?
No.
No?
So I'm born with cerebral palsy. We grew up in Napier. I did the egg and spoon race. Right? I did the egg and spoon race, but my dad, at the beginning of the egg and spoon race, Cam, over here. So I walk over to Dad, and Dad says, my boy, you can be whatever you want to be in this world, and if you want to win today, just believe you can. And with that, he spat out a piece of chewing gum, stuck it on the spoon, and said good luck. So that's when I first, I guess, started running. Yeah. And I realised if I got rid of the egg and spoon, I love just running in straight lines.
Now, I heard you tell that joke on a TED Talk that you did. I saw that on YouTube. It's a great speech. Is that a true story or is that a joke?
100%.
Yeah, that's actually had the chewing gum.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you go with, surely like blue tack would be more effective?
I guess he was, like, he would have been in his mid-20s then.
That's the coolest thing.
He's turned up and he's watching his son and he's probably not, because he's probably not really thinking of it until he's there.
Right.
And he's like, well, what have I got? Well, how can I help my boy? Here's some chewing gum.
Yeah. Well, so that is true, because I saw that on the TED Talk. I thought, that's just shtick. That's a joke that he's written for the speech.
No.
Oh, that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
So you is part of how you are now, do you think, because of the way your parents raised you?
I mean, I get asked that question heaps, and I think it's a real chicken and the egg scenario, you know? Like, you have people that go to the same school and go different ways. You have families and their children are completely different. So I think one was I had a deep desire to fulfill my creativity in my head. And then in the early days, I had family who didn't get in the way of it. So if I wanted to play football, they'd go out and buy my uniform. If I wanted to play cricket, they'd say, Cam, every other person is training 2 days a week. If you want to play, you have to train 4 days a week.
Right, because of the cerebral palsy, you just have to work that much harder. Right.
So that I can be as competitive as everyone else.
Right.
And then as we got older, the balls got bigger. No, but
okay, no, mate, keep it clean. Okay.
Yeah, but if, you know, the cricket got harder. The boys got faster. Everyone got stronger. I'm moving from Hawke's Bay to Auckland, so all the kids I've grown up with are no longer there. And there was a stage when I was at high school, first year of high school, and I looked out and I didn't see people who walked or talked like me. And I did wonder, you know, what would my life be like? What can I do? You know, being a teenager is hard anyway.
It's so sad.
And then you've had this, and so I didn't have a great year. And
when was this? This was your third form year?
This is third form.
Year 8 or whatever, yeah.
Third form. Jeremy Wells, actually, who I heard your interview the other day, he helped me in a big way.
Did he?
Yeah.
How do you know Jeremy?
Through Havoc.
Right. Oh, Havoc, yeah. Havoc and Newsboy back in the day.
So
how did Jeremy help you?
I would watch that show. It was the only thing that made me smile. It was the only thing that made me laugh. And my mum wrote a letter to Jeremy. I don't know what she wrote in that letter, but he wrote back. He wrote back a 2-page letter. And in that letter, he had the words, difference is a good thing. People who count in this world look for those who are different. And I still have that letter stuck up on my wall. I see it when I wake up. I see it when I go to sleep. And I look at Jeremy now and I go, man, those are words to live by.
So how old is this letter? What is it, like 20 years old?
Yeah.
You've still got, does he know this? Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you last see him and tell him?
So I've been sharing that story quite a bit as a speaker.
Yeah, right. Oh, so it's got back to him.
I thought it would have, and it may well, but I remember doing one speech, and I was like, I need to reach out to him. And so I jumped on Facebook. Who knows Jeremy Wells? And a day later, we were meeting up at the Punch Me Road Food Court and having a good chat.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Isn't it amazing? Just goes to show, like, if you take the time to do something like that, just what an impact it can have.
Small words inspire big action. Yeah. And that's why I do what I do as a speaker, because you just don't know where those words are going to go. What impact?
He might be out running now. He does a breakfast show on Radio Hauraki, then he goes for a run most mornings.
Yeah. Feel like we're on live radio now. And you,
this
you
is
pick
Jeremy
up his
Wells.
phone, you'll get $50,000.
Right, but please leave your name and number after the beep, and I'll endeavour to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. See you.
Hey, Jeremy, it's Dom here. I'm just recording a podcast, and a story just came up about you. A really nice story, actually. Gave me goosebumps.
Hey, Jeremy, it's Calkoen here. Just sharing what you did as a teenager. Well, when I was a teenager, and thank you. Have a good run. One of his good mates actually came up Kilimanjaro with me as well. So, the world, everyone's connected in some way.
Yeah, so the Mount Kilimanjaro thing, we've got to get to that as well.
We'll get there at some point.
I mean, there's just there's no limits. I feel like that's the way you live your life. Like, if you put your mind to something, you will just do it, even though it's harder for you. Like you said before about the cricket.
Yeah.
And how did the cricket go? Did you have to tap out of sports like that when you got to a certain age?
I did.
When the kids got...
But at primary school, it was unreal. I remember at primary school, and I was allowed to bowl from halfway because I didn't have the strength to do that. Oh. But kids... But it was normal. Like I never the competition never gave me a hard time, and I'm so glad I grew up when I grew up. I'm so glad I grew up in a world that wasn't too PC. I'm so glad I grew up in a world that he's going to bowl from halfway because he can't throw the whole way.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so you were never, did you ever experience any sort of bullying or anyone?
No. I
that's wonderful.
I was the biggest bully to myself during, when I was talking about that third form year.
Yeah.
And I said I was the biggest bully because I turned up to school, but I wasn't really turning up, I wasn't stepping outside my comfort zone. And whenever you're a little bit different, it's your responsibility to build that connection with people. It's your responsibility to say, this is why I walk like I do. This is why I talk like I do. But you know what? I enjoy being a good athlete. Yeah. I enjoy skateboarding. I enjoy riding a bike. I enjoy skiing. And now that's what we connect on.
Yeah.
Cindy Lauper. Show your true colours. But it's true, right? It's true.
That is very true.
We have way more in common than what makes us different.
I'm honestly, I'm so pleased to hear that you were never a victim of bullying or anything, because kids can be, I suppose, especially like in single figures, kids can be particularly cruel with things they don't understand.
Yeah, but I now speak. I speak at schools, right? And I see those kids, and they see me walk in, and they're sniggling and tapping their mate on his shoulder and cracking up. And by the end of the talk, they're the kids who come up and say, Cam, thank you, and I wish I could do what you do when I'm your age. And what that's taken is storytelling. It's taken speech, it's taken words, and when we withdraw our stories, when we don't speak, that's when, I've said it before, that's when you make assumption.
Yeah. When did you decide, what did you want to do when you were little, like at primary school, intermediate, and when did you decide you wanted to do what you're doing now, which is having a huge impact?
Yeah. I wanted to travel, I wanted to entertain, I wanted to connect with people. I didn't know what that looked like. And that's why I did what I did, because whenever an opportunity came up, I said to myself, would this enable me to travel? Would this enable me to entertain? And so when running came up, I knew that if I could get to the top level, I'd be able to go all over the world.
So why running? What made you gravitate towards that? Is it just something that you could do because it wasn't a team sport, or did you have like some sort of natural talent?
Well, running because you got a really cool jacket at high school.
Because for me, I gravitated towards running because I don't have cerebral palsy, but I was shit at team sports, and I felt the pressure of letting team members down in other sports, like just dropping a catch or whatever, and you could feel the bowler getting mad at you or getting out for a duck, and you walk back, and whatever it happened to be. Yeah. So I thought running, I'm only letting myself down. But there was no cool jacket for me though.
So I wanted to be that full. I didn't want to let a team down either, right? But I also wanted to be in full control of my success. I wanted to own that. Yes. I didn't want to do physio, and when I looked at running, all the things that made you a good runner is what I needed to do when I was at the hospital, being stretched out for my cerebral palsy. I was also at Rangitoto College, is the school I moved on to after that bad year in third form. And in my class was a guy called Terenzo Bizzoni.
Oh, yeah, I know Terenzo, yeah. He's one of the world's greatest Ironmen.
Yeah. So
Right.
we were best mates at high school, and the school athletics day was coming up, and a bit of paper was coming around. It was coming around to put our name down for the school athletics day, and it stopped on my desk. And I really wanted to put down my name. But inside my head was that little voice that we always hear. What will people think? What will people say? You walk funny, you run funny, you haven't run competitively. And Terenzo said, just put your name down for the 100 metres. And that's what I did. And T then became my first coach. And I remember he came running up my driveway.
So he was the same age as you, 14. He was, yeah, right. Was he a really good athlete at that age?
Man.
Yeah,
he was the man. I think he was doing his duathlons at that point.
Yeah.
And he was Italian God. He just came running up. We had quite a steep driveway, and he came running up, and he said, "Cam, we're going to go training." And I was like, "Cool, okay." So he came running down the driveway, thought his parents would be there in the car. They weren't. So he ran to the end of the cul-de-sac. Still no car. We were running the whole way to the track. And as he's running up a hill, he's asking me about the weekend, and I'm just focusing on my breathing and trying to survive. And at that point, I decided, you do long distance, I'll stick to the 100 and 2. I looked to train with the best athletes that New Zealand had. I had people like Sir Peter Snell supporting me.
Peter Snell, by the way, I don't want to patronise anyone, but they're probably New Zealand's greatest Olympian ever.
Yeah.
Was he a triple gold medalist?
Triple gold medalist.
Yeah.
And
How did you meet Snell?
So he'd set up an event, athletes program called Peter Snell Institute of Sport.
Yeah.
Valerie Adams, Terenzo Bizzoni, myself, we were the first 3 athletes that they had. And when you're surrounded by those sort of people, you know, you start to just go, man, Silver, that doesn't matter. I am with who I want to be. I am building that dream. I have taken full control of how I want to be perceived, who I want to be perceived by. And there's a reason why those people have become as good as they have, because they don't let the perception of the unknown get in the way, right?
Yeah.
They ask questions. Everyone I know, I've met business people, athletes, they are the people that look for what we can do.
Yeah.
And that's why they get to where they get to in life. And when we do that, we get to where we want to get to. It may take longer, there may be more processes, but it's a journey.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before that you were sponsored by Toyota, so this might be another dumb question, and I do apologise. But so you drive yourself?
Awesome, eh?
Yeah.
Totally awesome. Did a burnout in my driving test.
Not in his sponsor's vehicle.
No. So, and that was the other thing, like learning to drive.
Right.
And I was like, I want to drive a manual because all my mates were into surfing, skateboarding, real gnarly stuff, you know, at high school. And I thought, if anything goes wrong, I want to be, and if I'm the only one that can drive, I don't want to be like, dude, I can't, you know. I got lazy and I just went for an auto. Or when I have a kid one day and they're like, Dad, can I learn how to drive? I want to be like, yeah, I'll teach you. I mean, they'll probably be in the drive of his car now. But, you know, that was what I taught myself. Because in a few years passed and a cool opportunity came up to become an ambassador for Toyota in New Zealand. And it's been a 10, 11-year partnership now. And you know, we've gone through journeys of believe and start your impossible, and, you know, that's what I'm all about. And I'm speaking in front of, you know, 100,000 people a year about awesomeness and being the best that you can be.
Oh, it's a great relationship.
It's great fit.
Great relationship. And so the public speaking thing, which you've done so many talks, like hundreds, maybe even thousands of talks. How was that something that you thought, I'm going to do this, or did you sort of fall into it? How did that come about?
Same thing with travel, entertaining, and connecting.
Yeah.
I got to a place in my sport where I was like, this is cool. I've achieved some awesome stuff, but I never wanted my competition in life to be determined by the abilities of my cerebral palsy, rather governed by who I am as a human being. And I wanted success on all levels. I wanted financial independence. I wanted to be someone that could offer something to the whole world. And as an athlete, I was always competing against the same top 12 in the world. And this created my opportunities.
Yeah.
And so I was asked to give a speech, and I was like, no way, man. Like, have you heard me? Like, I'm terrified of speaking. I told myself that I couldn't do it, but I practiced my speech. I went into preparing my speech as if I was preparing for a race.
Right.
Because I knew if I knew what I was going to say, if I could be articulate, if I knew I could give half an hour of wisdom and motivation and inspiration and entertainment to all the people in the audience, I had nothing to worry about. And I was at Westlake Girls High School, and I was fresh out of high school myself, and I sneezed halfway through my speech. I sneezed everywhere, and there was snot, it was like a scene from Ghostbusters, right? And my manager came up to me at the time, and he didn't give me a hanky, he didn't give me a tissue, he gave me his very own shirt for me to blow my nose on. And that's what I did, but we survived it. We turned it into a story, and it's gone all over the world now.
Right, so because for most people, public speaking is their worst fear.
Yeah.
It's been proven in surveys. So for you, I guess you had the fear of public speaking, but also coupled with the fact that knowing your voice is different.
The perception of my voice.
Yeah,
But you know what I had to... So what I did do is then instead of looking... I remember watching an interview with Michael Schumacher, and when he was racing, and going, wow, if a guy with a really thick accent can get the respect that he's got, maybe I just look at my...
It's just like an accent.
Like an accent.
Yeah.
So now when I speak all over the world, they just think this is the Kiwi accent, right? Sorry, guys.
I mean, you're not difficult to understand at all.
I've worked hard on it.
Have you?
I've worked hard.
How do you work hard on that? Have you, like a speech therapist? Or
by being a professional speaker.
Yeah.
Seriously, because this is the dream, this is the goal, and this is something showed by breathing, by speech therapy, but really, when you're doing 100+ speeches a year, you start to master your own voice. You start to work out that I know I've got something that the world likes and enjoys. So how do I package that up? And it's just about ownership. It really is going, I'm going to view it as an accent rather than an impediment. And as soon as you do that, you see the opportunities.
Man, there's so many good lessons in here. So many good lessons. So when you speak, do you have to work harder with your mouth muscles to articulate your words? Is that sort of what you're saying by working on it?
No, just by working, as in over the years.
Right.
Of doing it more, of working out how to open my mouth, of doing exercises on the way here in the car.
Right.
And nothing tedious, nothing that a professional voice user wouldn't do, as you just become aware of your body.
Yeah, I suppose it's like you'd warm up for a 100-metre sprint or a 200-metre sprint, or else you're going to pull a hamstring.
Totally.
I guess it's,
Totally. It's the same thing. If you want to be the best that you can be in this world, you need to do that behind-the-scenes stuff. You need to go, okay, I've told myself I'm going to be an athlete. It does mean starting to get up, to run, to feel like you're pounding the pavement and it's heavy, but you get to that point where you're flying, where you're light, where you see your time changing.
Yeah. So the Mount Kilimanjaro thing, first of all, where is Mount Kilimanjaro and how high is it?
So Mount Kilimanjaro is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. So it's a bit like Mount Ruapehu, as in it's not part of a huge range. It just pops out of Tanzania. and the song by Toto.
Oh, Africa.
Africa.
Yeah, I
Sing
bet
about
that.
Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
So if you've heard that song, you know Mount Kilimanjaro. And
We heard you sing Cyndi Lauper before. Please don't sing it up.
I'll leave it for the pros. You
Yeah,
know?
you didn't practice that in the car on the way over.
There's some places where the accent just doesn't cross over.
So, did you get asked if you wanted to do that, or did you just decide yourself, I think I want to climb a bloody big mountain?
Again, it's good people in your life. So, Mike Allsop, have you ever come across him?
Oh, yeah, I know Michael Allsop. He's
Yeah.
a New Zealand pilot. He's written a couple of books. He's climbed mountains,
Mountains, climb Mount Everest. And we caught up. I've known Mike for a few years as a speaker. And he said, Cam, have you ever thought about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro? Tallest freestanding mountain in the world. I was like, no. No way, man. And then we spoke, and I realised the reasons for saying yes were way more awesome than perceptions for saying no. Because that's what gets in our way, right? The perceptions. I've never done it before. And so 20 minutes later, I made my deposit. And then
quickly?
Yep.
Well, you said the reasons for saying yes were more than the reasons for saying no. It doesn't sound like you put a huge amount of thought into it.
No, but when someone says, do you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro? Man, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to say, I've stood on top of a massive mountain?
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the exciting things. But what we start to think about is, I'm not a mountain climber. I need to take time off work. What will the training look like? What will the eating look like? And we start to focus on those things, but we actually don't know what they will look like.
Yeah.
But we really, those get in place of that amazing feeling of standing on the top of Africa.
Yeah. So how high is that
And
mountain?
so it's 19,000 feet.
19,000 feet. So what's that? That's like 6 kilometres high.
Yeah.
Just over 6 kilometres
Yeah.
high. So how long does it take you?
So it's a 5-day journey up,
Right.
and you're doing it because of the altitude sickness is gnarly.
Can you describe that? Because most of us have probably never experienced it.
Because you do. You go, 6 kilometres, it's not far, but at 13,000 feet is when it kicked in for me. And all of a sudden, my head was just getting like squashed. It felt like a peanut being squashed by an elephant. My lungs were just exploding like grapes. Boom, boom, boom. And then you stop thinking about drinking. That was for me, when I look back, I just stopped drinking.
Yeah.
And then the next minute, you're just vomiting for like 6 hours. And this was a day where you go up and then you come back down, because that's how you acclimatise. So with altitude sickness, as soon as you start coming down, you start to feel better. But it blows people up. Like we'd see 25, 27 helicopters.
Hang on, that's my dog. I'll just open the door from... 27 helicopters, what, rescuing people?
Yeah, taking people off.
Sorry, just a dog walking past.
Yeah,
That's
so 27, so that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
27 helicopters a day taking people off. And what they'd be doing is they'd be going too fast. They'd be fit as people going, this is an easy climb. I'm just going to run up, and I'm not going to listen to my guide who does this 150 times a year.
Yeah.
I'm better than that person. You're not. So when they tell you to go slow, and when you start a walk, you're walking slower than slow. Like, it's painfully slow, but that's what you need to do, because when you get there, that final climb on the final night, we left at 11 p.m. and we got in at 6 a.m., so it's at 7 hours.
So you walk through the night?
Climbing, yeah.
Have you got like a head torch on?
Yeah. But mine is 5 degrees.
Right.
It's cold. It's not what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Tanzania.
Why is it done that way, so you can see the sunrise from the summit, or is it so once you're up there you can get back down in daylight?
I asked the guide. I was like, why do we do every other part during the day and we do this part at night time? He said, well, if you had to see what you were going to see, you wouldn't want to do it. He said, this is the steepest bit of the climb
Right.
you will have ever seen. And then it's for those other two reasons, because you want to see the sunset, but you've got to come back down.
Right.
And do you know what? But coming back down has become the most significant part of the climb. Because
How
of
so?
where we are now as a world, going through these COVID times and having changes. Because when you're going up, like when you're preparing to climb Kilimanjaro, you get to the top and you've just released your biggest release of adrenaline, right? All your visualization has been about, how do I get to the pinnacle? And you're way more wobbly, way more thirsty, way more hungry coming down, but you've got to come down, and the reason in which you come down is you have to come down in order to tell the story.
Yeah.
And so often in life isn't always going up. We're coming down so many times in life. We're coming down from being professional athletes or out of relationships or with health and wealth, and we need to be able to ask ourselves, how do we tell that story?
Yeah, I love how you can find like a metaphor or a message and everything like that.
It's the other reason in which I climbed Kilimanjaro. Yeah. I was like, I need to keep fueling up my content.
Yeah. Also, I suppose another thing is when you get to the top of a mountain, it's only job half done, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah. But it's amazing how little thinking before it went into how do you come down.
Yeah.
You know, because you were so focused on getting to the top.
Yeah.
So we got to the top and our drink bottles were like tanked out, our food, it really was. Because you're like, I've just, you know, the night before you go, I'm going to eat all I can to get to the top.
To fuel up, yeah.
To fuel up.
So do you need oxygen at that height or no? You're okay without the oxygen?
They have it in case, and they're doing pricks on to like look at your blood and see your levels in your blood. So it's quite a professional setup.
Yeah.
And coming down, because the top is like Mount Ruapehu, or if you've climbed the crossing,
Tongariro, yeah.
And there's a lot of scoria, you know, so it's that kind of thing in the last 8 hours. And that's why it takes so long, because it's 2 steps up, 1 step back.
Yeah.
It's just sliding and it's cold. But it was beautiful. I've never been so close to the moon and the stars. And when you get to the top, because it's so vast, you know, you're really seeing that part of the world still in dark and this part of the world still light.
Yeah, how good.
You know, that's cool.
How good.
Yeah.
And speaking of the metaphor you used before about, you know, like mountains like life, you have your ups, you have your downs. How's your mental health been? I know you touched upon your first year in high school and how you were the biggest bully on yourself. Is it generally good?
Yeah, generally is awesome. And that's why I do what I do. I have outbreaks every now and then, but generally, as in like where just life gets too much and you overwhelm yourself. And then I realise just because I've not done a spin class for a while, or I've not been for a gym, and a few years ago had a bit of a scary moment, and the best discovery I had was how does my action or reaction to whatever's going on now impact on my dream?
Yeah, can you elaborate on that?
So I was at the beginning of my speaking career, and service is going on. You know, it's just stuff. And I actually remember I walked out in front of a car, and I thought to myself, man, you've just been talking to these, you know, people about living your most awesome life. Imagine if someone was in that car. And how would that impact the dream? Yeah. And if it had...
wait a minute. So you walked in front of a car, not deliberately?
Yeah, deliberately. Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, did you want to be hit by the car?
Yeah, I just thought, like, this was too gnarly, too much, and I just, you know, that emotion... When that emotion goes on in your head and you feel like a raging bull and you do stuff that's not characteristic to you. I was going through one of those moments, and I did. I walked out in front of a car, and that car fortunately didn't hit me.
So did they swerve? They slammed the brakes on? How did you?
Swerved. It was. I think whole thing was going a lot slower. But this is in my early 20s, right? And of just thinking I'm going through a transition of, do I want to be an athlete anymore? Is my identity as an athlete because everyone in my life is an athlete? All my sponsors are as athletes. I've told the whole world that I'm not going to stop until I'm the best in the world, and no longer do I want to do that dream. So what does that mean? Does that mean I'm a failure? Does that mean that no one's ever going to take me seriously because you spoke about this dream and I don't feel these people I can talk to? So I've got one option left right now in that moment of fury at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're sitting be up anyway, and it was walking, and fortunately I was given the opportunity to think about how would have my action that night affected or impacted on my dream, and it would have destroyed it. And hopefully talking about it now doesn't destroy it, but
I know you weren't in a fit place to be thinking about this at the time, but also the impact on the driver of that car.
Does it? The impact on everything, right?
Yeah.
And
you shared this story before?
No.
Thank you very much for sharing it. I really appreciate that, and I'm pleased it was unsuccessful.
Me too. And maybe I share it now because, man, it's been a tough 2 years for a lot of people.
The last couple with the pandemic.
With the pandemic.
100%.
It's been tough.
Yeah.
And it's bringing out monsters in people. It's bringing out faults in people that aren't normal. You know, people talk about 20% drop in income. There's people that are on like a 90 to 100% drop on income, and that's the reality. And there are opportunities for that little demon who's never normally there to pop in, and you've just got to look at the bigger picture. And that's why, as a speaker, I speak about dream big, achieve more, because it was that desire of traveling and entertaining and connecting. It was believing that I could bring something awesome to this world that as a teenager and in the early 20s enabled me to stay focused on that.
Yeah.
You know, that was the light, and sometimes all you need is that tiny bit of light, and then you get a letter from someone like Jeremy, you go to a good school and you get surrounded by great athletes, and then one of the greatest athletes of all times decides to support you, and all of a sudden that starts coming together, and people say, you've done awesome as an athlete, can you come and speak about it? And your first perception is to say no, but that was also the first idea of saying no to Kilimanjaro, and you do it, and you say yes, and you change your life.
What's that? Even take away the cerebral palsy, do you think part of that's like imposter syndrome? You know what I mean?
Like fake it till you make it.
Kind of in a way. Imposter, do you know much?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
As in, I'm not this person.
I shouldn't be here. Like it's something I've experienced over the years. So imagine you make the All Blacks and you turn up to training and you look around and you're like, oh shit, oh there's Bowden Barrett, oh there's Kieran, there's Richie, whoever. And you're like, I'm not good enough to be here.
Yeah.
But clearly, if you're in that fold, you are good enough to be there.
Imagine stepping out. Yeah, but it happens when you step out in front of 2,000 people on a stage, and you go, oh. But you tell yourself that you have to turn up. And I remember a coach of mine saying, Cam, just turn up, be you. Let it out. Don't hold stuff back. Don't let stuff get in the way, and you'll be the best that you can be.
Yeah, that's a great message. Have you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy, or have you ever done stand-up comedy?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. We were going to move to LA in 2020 to really, build up the speaking dream, and I had some big events lined up, but I was going to have to hustle. And one of the things I thought about was like just going into like an open mic night in LA. Unfortunately, we didn't get there, but we will get there.
Yeah, you should try it.
Yeah,
just a few jokes, like even though it's a true story, the one about the chewing gum, the egg and spoon race, a couple of other jokes, you'd be away laughing.
There's a few. Yeah.
Probably, I don't think stand-up comedy pays the bills the way inspirational and motivational speaking does, but it could be a fun thing to do.
It's a fun thing, and the thing is, it's saying yes to stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And it's learning. We're always learning. about ourselves. It's like when you're at the gym and you're doing something and it's incredibly uncomfortable or awkward, like bear crawls, when you're doing it for the first few times, and then you get into it and you do it because it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of you at the gym. What matters is your quality of life.
Yeah.
And you do what you can in places like the gym to not be the most amazing person there. You do what you do there to be the most amazing person that you can be in life. And when you start to realize that if I work a little bit hard, I will get stronger. If I go out more, I will get faster. Imagine if I transferred that into other parts of my life.
Yeah.
And then you start to work on personas of who you are so that you don't, I remember at the beginning of my of my speeches, used to say, don't just have one dream, have 100 dreams. Like, we have so much more potential in us to achieve so much more than we currently know.
Yeah.
But it's easy to put ourselves into, I'm that athlete or I'm the speaker. And we stop thinking, well, whatever got us to be the best that we could be here, if we put that into another part of our life, imagine what the result could be there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about putting that effort in,
Yeah.
Doing the work. And the example you gave before about the gym and worrying about other people looking and other people thinking, the funny thing is, as soon as you realise everyone is self-conscious and people aren't that interested in you, they're interested in what everyone else is thinking about them, the more you can get that out of your mindset and just move on with it.
It was only this year that I started doing classes at these mills because I've been saying that whole thing of, and it was the best thing ever, getting into doing classes at the gym. Like, it was awesome. It was competitive. It was as in your own head. But you really quickly realised the people on the treadmill don't care.
No one cares. They're all worried about their own shit.
Yeah.
They're all worried about people staring at them and how they're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you'd be, I'd imagine you'd be in environments like that where you may be anxious to go in. I'd imagine you're a good-looking, charismatic guy. I'd imagine you're quite popular whatever space you go into, whatever room you enter.
Thanks for saying that, because that's really how I see. That's how
So that's how you see yourself.
Yeah.
So is what you were saying that the way you see yourself is in a way how the world sees you.
I really think so.
Yeah.
I really think so. And it may not be how the petrol pump attendee sees me, but I don't know. It may be. But as soon as you've got that ability to build some rapport with someone, I'm sure, like, I know I've had some people and they go, oh, what do you do as a job? And I say, I'm professional speaking, and they look at me like, oh, that's cute.
Oh, like it's a joke.
Oh, that's great. And, if only they could see the result of
check
that.
out my website, bitch. Look at this.
Check this out.
Check out my TED Talk.
Yeah, but you don't, you just learn, and you're always learning. And I'm always amazed when I hear other people's stories of the insecurities that they had. And you think, no way, why would they have that? They're like awesome, and we all work on stuff. And we've all got to, and yeah. That's why this is cool.
And so how old are you now? You're born in 1984. What's that?
So 38 this year.
38. Are you married, or is there a special someone in your life?
Special someone. So my partner Audrey, we've been together for 3 years, and it's all going good.
How did you meet?
I was giving a speech. She's a school teacher, and I was speaking at her school, and I thought, yeah, she's pretty good looking. And then we went into each other's Instagram, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like, oh man, I've got to be professional, You can't get the reputation of like going into speeches and like picking up,
picking up audience members,
picking up audience,
like groupies.
Yeah, and especially not at a school, right? Picking up the teachers. So about 2 years later, we started, or a year and a half later, we started sort of, I think my first line to her was, how are your dreams going? And
really? Why? Oh, because your whole message is dream.
That's my whole message,
right,
dream big
dream big.
So I was keeping it professional, and yeah. and it's been awesome.
Did you try online dating apps or anything before that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did, because I thought, hey, this is awesome. I don't need to worry about perceiving me as people as the drunk guy in the bar. You know, I get to communicate, and that's what I do. You know.
Yeah.
And then I had a few cool dates, but was really glad that things worked out as they did, because it was always my intention and my dream that I'd meet someone just in a way in which I was growing up knowing that's how you meet people.
Yeah, it's great. So when you were on the dating apps before Audrey, would you have in your profile that you've got cerebral palsy, or would that be something that you bring up at the first meet? How does that come about? So the reason I asked that, I've got a mate of mine, Pete, who's you might actually know him. He was a Paralympian. He's in a wheelchair. He did some skiing. Pete Williams.
Yeah, Pete Williams.
Yeah. So his Tinder pictures is just like him from, I guess, like the waist up. And
It's a good-looking waist up, though, right?
and then it had rolling up at his chair, and I think he kind of liked the reaction and the shock factor.
Yeah. So I wasn't as ballsy as Pete. I'd bring it up pretty early, and it never got in the way.
Yeah.
In fact, it never did. Like, I look back at school and I go, man, I wish I hadn't let it get in the way, because
You wasted all those good opportunities or years.
Yeah, but you look in life and you learn from everything. And as a speaker, that's what makes life so cool, because I actually go through all the same things that a lot of people go through, and I'm able to articulate it and tell my story, but in a way that gets people thinking about their stories. And when the two come together, that's when you start to get motivation and results. And
Oh, you're a very good communicator. Do you drink much? Do you hit the piss? You mentioned before that when you're at a bar, people think you're the drunk guy.
Yeah. It's funny. The more I drink, the more normal I become.
No, that's a joke.
No, it's no joke. Because you know how at the beginning, and you may even be seeing it now, the more we're spending together here, the more relaxed I'm becoming. I'm feeling it in my arms. And so part of drinking, until you get to a certain level, is relaxing you, right?
Yeah, right.
I can't go at the beginning of a night and order a drink, but once I've had 2 or 3, I can go and order a drink and carry it home, no problem, because I'm not endorsing drinking, and I'm not a big drinker, but it's interesting from that perspective.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I do now. I tend not to get out there and get on it.
You got a girlfriend.
I want to be able to get up and go to the gym in the morning. I want to be able to articulate my thoughts in terms of creating new speeches, and the schedule around life is pretty full on, Yeah,
well, we've all got the same amount of hours in a day, so it's up to us how we spend them, right? And,
totally.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. But you said you're not shaking much now, and you were shaking when you came in. Hand on heart, didn't even notice it. I don't know. When you said that, I don't know what you were talking about. What do you mean? It's not like can cerebral palsy be a little bit like Parkinson's in that respect? Like in terms of, really?
So could you really not see it?
Not at all. No.
Because I could feel it. Like, I felt like every fibre in my arm when I got here. That's why I didn't touch my drink bottle. I felt I felt like it was real, like an earthquake.
Right. Really? Didn't notice it at all.
Really?
At all. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It was fascinating, because in my head I was telling myself, you're seeing this, and so I was feeling it more, because I was like, but that's not who I am. Whereas right now I feel like, man, I've just totally warmed into it.
Yeah. Oh, it's been a great conversation. There's something I want to ask, and you're more than welcome to say, piss off, Dom, mind your own business.
Yeah.
But your love life. How does that work with cerebral palsy?
Oh, mate, you give a shake going and it's all go.
So everything works.
Yeah, it all works.
Yeah.
Obviously, haven't got anything to compare it to, but from what I know, it works really well.
Yeah,
it's not good in a way.
High five.
It's good fun.
Hey,
like I said at the beginning, life's better than normal. It's awesome. That's why I carry it everywhere, and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're an inspirational guy. So what's next for you? I'm guessing the last couple of years have been tough with limited speaking engagements due to the pandemic. Are you doing all right financially? You keeping your head above water?
It's amazing. Like it's way down on what I'm used to, but we bought a house last year. Bought my first house last year here in Auckland, and when you're able to do that in the middle of a pandemic, when you're not making what you're used to, like. I'm not like I don't really know what I'm articulating there, but we're doing okay. But
you're doing. If you've got a house in Auckland, you're doing sweet as.
But it's been hard.
Yeah,
it's been really hard, and it's been. We were set to move to the United States of America, so that's what we were prepared for. We didn't have that, so I got everything that I had. We put it into our house, and the next day we went into lockdown, right? And every single speaker contract got screwed up. My first phone call after just getting the house was to the mortgage guy or the bank of how can we make this work, right?
Yeah.
This was the greatest adversity I'd faced, and I thought it was going to be shit. Like I had visions of you're going to have to leave your home. And then
like a mortgagee sale.
Like I thought visiting, because my 100% of my income was dependent on my speaking, and that stopped. And then I went out and I looked at the few people in the world who were doing really well in the online space. And I went out and I brought what they had. The bank wasn't happy. They said, don't spend any more money. I went out, I got what they did.
What do you mean? What sort of equipment did you need to buy?
Just like a great mic, a great camera, the mixing board. But
so you could do really Zooms and team meetings or whatever.
So that you were able to create an experience.
Yes.
Because I couldn't afford as a speaker to just be looking like any other Zoom call that people were having in their day. It needed to stand out. Yeah. It needed to be at this really professional level. And so, and then what happened is I got that gear, I started learning how to use it, and then we were doing speeches in LA and Sweden and London. And so, and it's been enough to just keep that, the mortgage ticking over. But I'm looking forward to the world opening up, because the world's needing this more than ever before, right? So it's exciting too. And I love the travel. I love getting on a plane. I love stepping in front of an audience of people and no one knows who you are, but within a few minutes you're connected and you're laughing and having a great old time.
Yeah. Geez, that the mortgage thing, moving into your new house and then all your engagements being cancelled straight away, that must have been a good test of, I don't know, your resilience or what you talk about at your speeches, because it's one of those variables that's completely out of your control.
Yeah. And again, that's why being an inspirational speaker has probably saved me so many times, because I've got this is my place to practice what I preach, right? Yeah. I've got a few ways of looking at this, and I'd call up the mates who are incredibly successful and hear about what they had done, and it's like, do things your way, do things my way, thanks Sinatra, but I won't sing you another song, but and that's what it is, that's what I've learned, that's what I've been inspired. I've now got an even better story, a more relatable story, and I'm gonna do the most that can help people.
Yeah, mate, it's a hell of a story, and I appreciate you sharing it. Oh, I got one more potentially dumb question.
Oh, it's cool.
I appreciate your openness, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the same position as what I am that have limited understanding about cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So your life expectancy, has that changed at all? Like with cerebral palsy?
I'm going to live to 200, man. I'm going to live to 200 because I'm going to make sure of it. I'm going to keep fit. I'm going to keep healthy. I'm going to keep doing my exercise. I'm going to keep saying yes to stuff. I'm not going to let a pandemic get in the way of my dreams. I'm not, I'm going to allow that thought to come into my mind of I'm going to lose my house, and then I'm going to do everything in my control not to lose it, because for me, that's the only option. And so if that does get me to 200, I'll know that I've created that myself.
That is the answer I would have expected from a world-class motivational speaker. Well done.
Cheers, guys.
Well done.
Awesome.
Cam Calkoen, absolute legend, runner, motivational speaker, and just all-round good human being. Thanks so much, man. Love
Cheers,
your work.
Dom. Been a pleasure.
Thanks very much for listening, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that. What a guy, eh? Cam Calkoen. Can you do me a favour? Where you get your podcast from, could you hit the follow button or the subscribe button? I'm not sure exactly what it does, but I've heard people do it on other podcasts, so it must do something. Thanks again to Livestream, the sponsors of this week's episode. Remember to check out Livestream's Spirulina Blue Extra, which contains up to 50% more phycocyanin than standard Spirulinas, giving you an extra boost of energy, stamina, stress support, and muscle recovery to support you in your running or your fitness journey. Head to livestream.co.nz and listeners get a 15% discount when you use my code DOM15. That's livestream.co.nz. All right, thanks guys. See you soon.